sometimes we've got to learn to trust our gut feeling. You see, not once, not twice, not thrice. Buyers have a way of just taking sellers for granted. It's going to be like a vent video because whenever it happens like this, it gets me so worked up and I just don't know what to do about it. But sometimes when I make a video like this, vent it out, I kind of feel better. And this is an opportunity for me to just go ahead and vent. You see, sometimes we want to be nice and buyers have a way of just taking our niceness for granted. And this is not fair. And when it happens like this, it kind of makes me want to think, who the hell does a thing like this? You see, a few days ago, a buyer wrote me on eBay, actually bought my stuff, a CPU, not supposed to be an expensive item, just a 15 euro item. See, these are some of the things we sell sometimes just to recover some money that are like hanging somewhere, you know. Okay, this processor was sold for 15 euros. And as soon as the buyer bought it, he went ahead and wrote me an email. I hope you are going to send this thing immediately. Mind you, this was a Friday afternoon. I don't normally work after 2 o'clock on Friday. I do not ship items because I want to spend a weekend with my family. I also want to go home and chill. It's part of the package, all right? The buyer wrote me, are you going to send this thing today? Which, first of all, I wasn't on my phone or my computer, so I didn't even see the message. And the buyer went ahead and wrote 3 more times. Please, I really need this urgently. If you cannot send it, I'm going to go ahead and cancel the transaction. Like I said, I wasn't on my computer to immediately reply the buyer. And then he wrote again, since you are not replying me, I think I'm going to go ahead and cancel the transaction. So the buyer actually went to eBay, initiated a cancellation of the transaction, which is okay. Buyer's prerogative to actually cancel a transaction is not a problem. Then I actually came to my computer and I saw that, look, somebody has been writing me and an item has sold. Let me even go ahead and check what is going on. Only for me to see that a processor has sold and the guy is trying to make a lot of theater. Do I want to, when am I going to send it out? I need it urgently. Immediately, I saw that there was also a notification that a buyer wants to cancel a transaction. And then I went ahead to cancel the transaction because I already saw that it's going to be a problem transaction. And then when I canceled the transaction, the buyer wrote me again and said, yes, it's okay, but just let me know when you would like to send out this processor if I go ahead to buy it. At this point, I should have already trusted my gut feeling that this was going to be a troublesome transaction. All right? But I want to be nice. You know, we always want to treat customers like they are kind of the king that they are. So if I knew, I would have just said, I'm so sorry. I don't think I will be able to send it as fast as you want it. You see, I would have just let this transaction go peacefully. But because I wanted to be nice, I went ahead to reply and said, yes, I can actually send it out on Monday. Saturday, I'm not in the warehouse. And if you want to go ahead and buy it, no problem. I'm going to release the item. Just going to correct because it was just one processor. All I needed to do was to correct the quantity and the listing is active again, all right? So I said you could go ahead and reorder it if you still want it. If Monday is not too late for you, I'll be able to send it out with DHL, which is a premium service. And then the buyer wrote, yes, I think this is a good thing. I think I would like to buy it. And the buyer went ahead and bought the processor again. You see? Learn to trust your gut feeling. When you see that a transaction is already starting with a lot of chaos, please, if it's possible to not do that transaction, don't do it because more often than not, it's going to end up as a problem transaction. So buyer went ahead, bought the processor. Monday came. I did my best to quickly send out this processor to the buyer, knowing that the buyer needs it urgently. I wanted to do my own part that, yes, I did a very good job for the buyer. Only for the buyer to receive it on Tuesday and wrote me and said, this processor does not fit with my main board. I would like to return it. At this point, I was cooked. I was off. I was like, no, this cannot be. This cannot be. This is a processor that I should have just left to slide. This is a transaction that I should have just left to slide. But because I wanted to be nice, I went ahead to list it and the buyer bought it, only for the buyer to want to return it on Tuesday because the processor in this case does not fit into his motherboard. I was so pissed off. And the problem is I have set up automatic acceptance of return requests from buyers. You see, this just made my life easy because sometimes you are so busy, maybe you are not on your computer. And because I'm a top retailer and I participate in the eBay Refurbished program, it's always very important that when somebody tries to return your item, I have to accept it as soon as possible. And because of that, I have actually set up automatic acceptance of return on my eBay shop. So when this buyer decided to return this item, before I could say jack, it was already accepted. And as soon as a buyer tries to return my item and is accepted, he or she gets a return label, and he gets the premium service return label from DHL, which costs in itself €8. So the buyer want to return the item, in this case a €15 item. He has initiated a return, automatically accepted by eBay, and he receives an €8 return label to send me back my processor. I was like, what kind of transaction is this? If I knew, I would have just trusted my gut feeling, and all this nonsense would not have happened. You see, this is one thing that happens, like I said, not once, not twice. The moment you want to be super nice to a buyer, it just turns around to bite you somehow. All right, so I told myself, look, this is going to slide. I'm just going to chew this and move on. But next time, when a transaction is starting on a very chaotic note, like you buy something, you want to cancel it, or you buy something, you're already writing me, my address is not correct, can I cancel it and reorder? As long as it's on a chaotic note, I am out of that transaction. I'm going to cancel it and possibly just politely write the buyer, look, I don't think it's going to be a good purchase. All right, because I noticed over and over and again that transactions that start very chaotic have a way of just being problematic. A good transaction doesn't have to start like that. A good transaction, the buyer already knows that, look, it's weekend. It's possible that I can actually expect my item from Tuesday if I order it on Friday, and perhaps go ahead and read the delivery notes that the seller has put in place. So you don't have to be writing emails after buying. A good, decent person will just read and say, okay, I think from Tuesday or Wednesday, I should expect to get my item. And if it doesn't work with your schedule as a buyer, you just move on to the next buyer without having to write so many emails. And sometimes I even wonder, where do these people have this kind of time to just sit down for a processor that is so cheap? Person has so much time to begin to make a lot of cry over just a little purchase that you would just buy and let everybody have peace. All right, so this processor now will be coming back to me. Of course, it is what it is. I'm just going to go ahead and refund the money, but it's a lost transaction. First trying to reply, sit down, listen to read the whole messages, and then try to ship the item, and then the item is going to come back to me in an expensive return label, which is what actually pains me. All right, like I said, is what it is. We'll try to be nice, but if the transaction is starting on a chaotic note, I am out. Let me know what your experience is. Have you ever received a kind of transaction like this? If you have, please go ahead and write on the comment section, and do let me know if you have some trick that you have figured out over the years to identifying a chaotic transaction.